So, Brooks, I think, you know, the more you get into retirement planning, the more you hear this question come up, and it is, how much should I be able to spend in retirement? What are your thoughts on that question?
Oh boy. Well, everybody, it's almost like remodeling a house or building a house. Everybody's got a idea of what it's going to cost, but at the end of the day, you've always got to go add, another 10 to 20% on what you're expecting. I would say, a really good tool that most people can do, but that very few actually do. But I found it can be very helpful is kind of testing your retirement spending 2 to 3 years before actual retirement and saying, if I were to be retired right now, what am I actually spending on? What am I actually living on? And that's going to give you a pretty good indication of what you're going to be spending in retirement. Now, we all know if we're not working Monday through Friday, we're probably out doing something that's costing us money rather than being in an office or whatever your job currently is making money. So there's typically the first few years that's a little bit higher than what you would expect. But as it goes on, it starts to kind of level out, at least from from most of the plans that I've put together. But of course, there's a little more travel, there's a little bit more eating out, there's a little bit more of hobbies, if you will. So that's always something that needs to be factored in. But I'd say a key indication of what's going to be spent in retirement is typically what you're spending now. And what you can do whenever building a plan with a financial advisor is saying, here's my base spending of what I think I'm going to do, and then layer on a budget for those outside events that you're wanting to do, such as hobbies and travel and car purchases and home improvements, stuff like that, so that hey, this is the amount that we have set aside outside of our normal day to day that we can reasonably afford to do every single year and not feel like we can't afford it.
Yeah, well, very well said. I really like what you said about kind of doing a trial run before retirement. You know, many times when I will meet with people who don't know how much they're going to spend, and in those instances, oftentimes what we'll do is we'll say, well, let's just assume we're going to spend 70 or 80% of our current income. When you retire, well, you've been living off your current income, and then when you retire, you no longer have payroll taxes. You're also no longer, hopefully, you were saving 12 to 15%. Now you're no longer saving
Hmm.
12 to 15%. So, oftentimes 70 or 80% is a widely respected wage replacement
Hmm.
ratio, and a good place to start if you're trying to determine how much you should spend in retirement. Just how much you live on your current salary. So we'll reduce it down to 80% or so. That's what you'll need in retirement. Then you can kind of start, back testing that with some of the other, rules of thumb in the industry, like the 4% safe withdrawal rate. See if between your income sources and that withdrawal rate, that could fund the retirement lifestyle that you want.
Yeah. And I'll say one of the best exercises that I run with clients is when we're building their financial plan and we say, hey, look, this is what you said you want to spend every year. This is how much you're bringing in income. This is the delta. And so what do? We say, all right, if this is the true delta, this is what we're going to send you every month based on that. And at the end of the day, we wake up 6 months from now or a year from now, and that checking account's not getting replenished at the rate that we needed to, then we know that we've undershot the mark of what they're spending. While at the same case, if their checking account continues to grow more and more, maybe they're spending less. But it's a good measure on a yearly basis whenever we're meeting to say, hey, we budgeted you to spend X, you spent this, therefore we know that our numbers are off. And that's a good place for us to go back to the financial plan and say, hey, if we really are going to spend that much, what can we do to make that adjustment to make sure that you're not having to go back to work in 20 years?
Yeah, exactly.